Here we go. Got this recorded. All right. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Shadows Podcast. I am your host, Trip Bodenheimer. And today is such a special day because, gosh, we're recording this, we're in April. So 9 months ago or so, I sat down with somebody. We recorded live. The Wi-Fi was about as bad as you can get. That is like the Bermuda Triangle of zero Wi-Fi service from where we were. And I tried recording on Restream at the time, live. And I got back to my room and the recording was awful because the Wi-Fi kept dropping. So Sheena Baker, I'm here with you today. Welcome.
Hey Trip, thank you. I would say it's great to be back, but technically the first time didn't count.
No, it
And
counts. It counts.
okay, it counts. It counts. It was a different experience, but it does not it does not mean that this engagement now is any less memorable and exciting, and I am so glad to be here. So thank you.
Oh yeah, this is super cool because it was actually a really good episode. That's going to be like one of the things when 15, 20, 30 years from now when the shadows takes off, becomes a really big deal. That's going to be like one of the archived lost episodes that people will be clamoring for. So
They're
um,
like, "Oh, how do you have that footage? Like it's gone, it's
there's a
archived." They're
bootleg
like,
copy somewhere floating around
yeah,
the internet.
boom, starting price 100,000. And we're like, all right, that's a little low, but okay,
I'll
we'll
sell it.
accept
It's
it.
sold for that. Yeah.
So,
But
it's priceless to me.
okay, well, I have a price, so I'll take that. So
Okay.
for our listeners out there, at the time of recording, where are you currently located? Because you're about to be leaving pretty soon.
So from that time of recording, we were actually at that AFSA convention, and that was focusing back in 2021, your professional educational development symposium. That was when we met about 9 months ago, approximately or
Yeah,
so. I don't
yeah.
know. Again, I am math is not my strongest suit, so don't be quoting me on this, okay? And then fast forward to where we are now. I'm currently in Tucson, Arizona, and I am scheduled for a PCS in about, no kidding, about 10 days to
14.
Germany.
14. You're not good at math. It's 14 days.
If we were to say 10 duty days,
Oh, you're going
technically, but
duty days.
anyway.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, yeah. So
I was
10
going
duty days
specific
for
calendar days, but
14 calendar days. Either way, I will be going to Germany and I look forward to those 3, 4 years or so serving in that capacity.
such a good group too. And you got some fresh ink today.
Did I? Oh yes, that's right. I'm glad you shared it.
See, I'm on
It's
top of
blood.
everything when it comes to it.
I mean, maybe I shouldn't share that. So right now it's very bloody, but I will share if I can pull this sleeve up without it compromising anything. But it is a jalapeno, all right? A bloody jalapeno, might I add. And what that is just a dedication to one of my really great best friends here, Anna. So the joke is kind of saying instead of a jalapeno, it's a jalapeno. And she's just always
And she's
going to
still
be
with us.
there. And she's still with us. Yes. Usually I would say it's an honor or memory of her and our friendship, but she's very much alive,
Yeah.
very much healthy, and I know she'll be making that trip shortly in Germany once I get the spare bedroom ready.
Would homage be like they've passed away? Or could you still be living and pay homage to someone?
I feel like you can, but it sounds too solemn, like, oh,
It
well, too
does.
somber. It's like I have another one, again, very much alive, of my dog. Look at that.
Okay. I like that one.
Here's my leader boy. Yeah, he's very much alive. He's very handsome, and he's also a very, very good boy. And I just love him so much. I wanted to keep him with me on my arm.
My dog right here, Chloe, she passed
Oh,
away. She was 16, 17 years old, and
hmm.
she was my girl. So I got her paw print about a week before she passed away on my arm. So still wear that with me everywhere I go. It's funny, you
See,
can talk about
I
people.
like
This is
that.
this is
Yeah.
not a knock on anybody that I've ever met or know, but you can bring up people who've passed away, and I'm like, they're a good person, blah 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 blah, and I'm fine. You bring up Chloe, and I'm like, ooh, it's allergies. My eyes are swelling up a little bit. But
Yeah, I was like, we gotta turn up the ceiling fan or
yeah, ooh.
something, because
Um, But yeah,
Where's my
so
Claritin?
just to let our listeners know, you are a non-commissioned officer in the United States Air Force, and you are a newly assigned professional military education instructor. You just came through our course down here in Alabama. We were actually going to record, and we just had such a good time talking. We didn't even want to put a mic in front of us. So it was good to catch up with you. And you had a decent instructor when you were here. Um, Sergeant Abrantes is not bad. Um, she's actually phenomenal. So I saw you were
You
like,
know, I would say her instruction was a reflection of her trainer. So I'd say,
probably.
yeah, she did pretty all right.
I'll be real with you here. I'm not gonna say what it was, but her trainer probably made her into who she is as an instructor, probably carried her. Um, and if and you know what, this is a test because she's like, I listen to the podcast. So I'm gonna see if she really listens to it because I'll be able to tell if she comes into work after this is released and gives me a glare or nails me or something. But
Yeah,
yeah,
we can say that she was all right in the sense that she moved me in ways every single day, and I was really able to make that connection with her. So if that is the case, absolutely phenomenal. Nezzy, if you're watching, I feel like I have to just kind of put that out there.
this episode is in memory of her.
Memory of her and Raptor flight. Okay, so
Yes, in
thank you.
memory. We'll pay homage to them on this one. All right. So, first thing, I'm gonna put you through some rapid fire questions here to get
Okay.
started. Book recommendation for people listening.
For one, depending on what your cup of tea is, I've actually, and I see it right in front of me. So if you excuse me just a little bit, I'm going to grab it.
Absolutely.
So this is The Art of Simple Living by Shumio Masuno. Oof, don't be dogging me about that. But basically, it's how do you appreciate the Zen and the energy in your life? It's really to me like a combination of being a stoic where you acknowledge your feelings, you rationalize them, you don't always act upon them, but you apply that balance. And this, it just reminds me, life gets so busy sometimes we don't always take the time to acknowledge the flowers that are blooming, or even take the time to take a walk through the garden, or even pick a few and put it in a vase and put that vase on your table. That's first and foremost. If there is anyone that's kind of looking into, oh, what kind of book should I read? Depending on where you're at in your life, if you're looking for ways to really take a step back and take in the fresh air, The Art of Simple Living would be my number one recommendation.
Okay. You could have a job for a day. You're out of the military. You could have one job for a day. What would you do?
If I can have one job for the day, and it's funny you say that. I have another book. I'm go-
I have five
I'm
books here in a
going,
minute.
we're going to do. Oh my goodness. Okay, we're gonna do this one because I feel like your next question. I'm just gonna bring this other book. I feel like I'm gonna like. So another one, if this is my whole job, right, is how to give your child a lifelong love of reading. And I would, no kidding, and this is by Alex Johnson, I would, no kidding, love. You don't even, at that point, I wouldn't even be asking for payment because my cup would be filled so much. I would love to go to libraries and read to children this book specifically, or to any like school, institutional facility, and start sharing them why reading is so important. It's not a test or measure of your intellect. To me, it's how I ground my thoughts and how I try to stay present, because I have learned I'm an overthinker. My mind will always just be in fifth gear, not knowing when to slow down or just take a breather. And I've always resorted, just even early childhood, reading, just to reading. A library was always my safest space. And there are times where I wouldn't even read a book necessarily. I would just love the smell of a freshly printed book, or I even smelled it, or even start to admire like one particular series is Lemony Snicket's A Series of Unfortunate Events,
Oh
where
yeah.
the pages are not smooth. They're all like, think of like recycled paper. They're not the
Yeah, yeah.
same size. Some are way bigger, rougher than others. I love that. Just if if that was my job and I had that choice, that's what I would be doing. I'd be reading.
You're about to go to Europe. You need to go to the Dublin library.
Hmm.
You can smell the books and the glue and
The
everything when you
ink,
walk in there.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
Dublin Library. I'm adding that to my list.
Something that people do that annoys you.
Let me articulate my thoughts for this answer.
Well, we try not to offend anybody.
Yes, I love when people are present. What I do not appreciate is when we are in conversation and they're on their phone or they're looking away or they're doing something to where I feel like is my time with you just not important to where you can't pay attention to me? It's not me being like, I want all your attention, love me, I'm not a cat. Like, but it is understanding like I'm sharing my time with you and time is a commodity you cannot get back. So even with people who know how busy my lifestyle is, it's the appreciation of understanding and knowing, oh my goodness, even in that busy time frame that she was deliberate in making time for me. So that's one of my peeves where they choose to not be present.
Just a little bit of respect in there too. Like, hey, I'm talking to you. Give me that respect. Give me that time. Acknowledge me.
Yes, yes, it's a one-on-one to me. It's and not without it being weird, it's the intimacy that you create in that
Yeah.
connection. And that goes off of like their vibe. If their vibe is just like, yeah, I don't even like to be here, and I'll be like, okay, cool. Like let's Canex really quick. I'll see you later.
I've gotten good about that
Bye.
too. I can sense that now with people, and I'm like, all right, this is done.
Oh yeah, it's not like I don't enjoy small talk, but I enjoy the mental stimulation that's there, and even the like the emotional and spiritual stimulation, if we can even go that far to say it.
Yeah.
It's us knowing from person A to B, it's receptive and it's open communication.
Yeah. Okay. Next one. We got two left.
Okay.
Something that people probably don't know about you.
People probably don't know that there's always a level of, okay, I'm a nerd or doing like there's Star Wars, Marvel comics. I am obsessed with the Legend of Zelda franchise, unhealthily obsessed. Yeah,
Breath of the
so
Wild,
much
one of the
that
best games ever.
you have Breath of the Wild, your Ocarina of Time, you have Majora's Mask, Link to the Past. Oh my goodness, Twilight Princess. There's so many. I am so obsessed that there's actually a book, book number three. The Psychology of Zelda. Like, and I'm gonna read it really quick.
Oh, when did that
It's
book come out? Because I had the
let me
Psychology of Batman behind me.
stop it.
I
Go
hang on.
get yeah.
This episode is
Excuse
if
yourself. I mean, get
people
the.
aren't watching on YouTube, they're gonna be like, "What the hell is happening to this?" And they keep going back.
Why did I keep leaving their seat?
Yes, right here. Batman and Psychology.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so
But I
this was
want Zelda because
published.
I'm more of a NES blow in it gold
Yeah, like
cartridge,
is it working if I press down it hard enough
hit
and
it.
kind of ruin the wiring, yeah, and
So
hit it, you know?
total off topic. This episode's just going downhill quick. So if you put your cartridge in the Nintendo and you actually grab the corners and move it around, that's the fix versus beating the hell out of. Nothing is more resilient in life than an old school NES. They take
And
a beat.
yeah, I resonate with that because I have two. I have one back home in Guam and I have another one here. And it's funny
I have one
in
right over here.
2023, right? We were so used to playing with those tube TVs and the graphics wouldn't be perfect, but they would be just enough. I'm gonna tell you, hooking that up to like my Samsung or anything past like 2013, like newer than that, makes it very difficult to where I'm already playing in this little triangle and I'm like, no, like widescreen and everything's distorted. It's not the same,
I
but
have a
I
tube
I still
TV.
appreciate it.
Yep, I
You
have the tube TV that still gets static and it'll shock you from like 5 feet away. I have. Hang on, hang on. I've got, so here's my Star Wars arcade game right
Mm-hmm.
here. I've got Ninja Turtles arcade game over there. And I've got, yeah, Batman stuff. That's me. And then this is like the horror section over here. But I've got more stuff. All my Nintendo stuff is located in that closet. But um, yeah, yeah, total nerd. I got all my. I'm trying to collect every Nintendo game from
Oh,
the original.
what's your what's your favorite? Like, okay, let's do
Favorite Nintendo game?
because let's do like top three. Top three, any genre of your choice. Let's do that.
Like in terms of different consoles, or just
Let's
NES? Just
limit let's limit to NES or Nintendo
oh,
64.
that's easy. NES. It would be the original Zelda. I like the
Okay.
original Zelda. I really like. It's a game that not a lot of people know about, but it's definitely a brain teaser game. Lolo, like
Lolo.
Lolo. Yes, I love Lolo. Because it's I. So my dad used to play it, but then, in fact, in Arizona, I got Lolo and Lolo too, and love those games. Oh, I love them. And then I'm a Tecmo Bowl. I had to throw a sports game in there, and it's probably gonna be Tecmo Bowl.
Tecmo Bowl. Okay, I'm looking at a few of mine. Okay, so yours I feel like are a little bit more old school than mine, but it's okay.
Okay,
It's okay. So, of course,
what's yours like
my
Captain America?
no, no. No, and when I really think about it, it is Legend of Zelda, either
Yes.
Majora's Mask or Ocarina of Time. I will always be in the mood. I don't care what point in my life I'm going to be at, but if I'm like five
Yeah.
or 174, I'm gonna be like, I'm gonna play Legend of Zelda, okay?
100%.
Super Mario. Is it Super Mario or just Mario? Mario 64? Whatever that is where you see the beginning screen and you can
On
like mess with his
64.
face.
Yeah.
So Mario 64. And then Pokemon Stadium.
Okay. Those aren't bad. Those are, if we're going
No,
64, I got to go GoldenEye.
GoldenEye. I would go
Classic.
with Xena, Xena Princess Warrior or something like that. Xena Warrior Princess, the Talisman of Fate. And it's literally just like Smash Brothers, except you're not like the stage doesn't zoom out. It's just
Yeah.
like whatever setting you decide and you have all these moves. It's really cool.
Okay. Well, we lost everybody who's not a gamer for the last.
But I mean, going back to your original question of what's something people don't know about me, I love the Legend of Zelda franchise to a point where I'm actually getting a leg sleeve done in honor, dedicated. I don't know. I feel like this is
An
gonna be our
homage to
keyword for
Zelda.
today.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it is, I know, without it being too weird, but we're already there, so why not? It's it's just right there. I
Is it
can't really
just that
put it in
one?
a it goes down. I'm trying to show without it being weird, but
Oh, I see
there
it.
you go.
Yeah, I see it.
You got your, and
That's
it's a
cool.
lot of the what I really want to show is this. It's gonna be my Ganondorf illustration. Someone actually said like, "Hey Sheena, why do you have George Washington on your knee?" And I'm like, one, all right, go America. And then two, I was like, sir, it's actually Ganondorf. He's an antagonist in Legend of Zelda, but it's fine.
Okay. Well, this was I feel like we need like a whole nother thing by ourselves just to talk about this. And yeah, I have my app here where I keep track of all my Nintendo games I have. So
What?
if I go to like a used store or something, I have the app where I'm like, do I already have this one? I do. Don't
Oh,
need it.
I can't even. That's smart. I need that app actually. If you can drop that in your link, because I cannot tell you the number of times I'd either buy the same game. Like I
Yeah.
probably have two sets of my Legend of Zelda, probably four of Ocarina, and then like two of Majora's Mask. And the same thing with movies. Every time I feel like I haven't seen this movie or I don't have it in my collection, I'll come home, I'll alphabetize it, and then I'll have like five of them.
Yep.
So they make
Yep.
great gifts.
That's why I had to do that. Yeah, it makes You know, if she sends you a DVD, why?
You're
Like
like,
Miss
hey, it's my favorite
Congeniality,
movie.
what?
Yeah, it's my favorite movie. I thought about you, but really, in reality, is I had too many copies.
Yeah, it's like, oh, thanks. All right. So you know what? Let's just go ahead and get into your journey. At this
Well,
point.
let me say this. Anyone that has received a gift from me that is a DVD, just know it is heartfelt. Okay, it's very much meaningful. It may also be because I had a lot more than just one too many copies, but it doesn't make it any less. Okay, all right, yes, go ahead.
I already know what I'm going to gift you when you finish up with PME. All right. So now let's get into your journey. You didn't grow up in the States, did you?
I did not. Did not.
As a closed-ended question, where did you grow up?
You know, now that we've really outlined and set the stage of what it is going forward, we're going to go on to this first question of where did I grow up? I was born and raised on the island of Guam. It's a territory of the United States, and we have the slogan of where America's day begins. And it is true. My first exposure to the United States was not until I had arrived to Texas during basic military training.
So you were in Guam for what, 19 years?
18, 19 years. And I'm gonna tell you what, the first thing that really struck me was not the people, it was a black squirrel. It was a furry black squirrel that was underneath one of the overhangs. I think we were waiting for a chow, and it was a little cute black squirrel that made its way up on the ground and made its way down to the ground and then made its way up into a tree. And I'm telling you, I was so struck because one, it struggled,
Yeah.
okay? And I was like, wow, that's adversity because right now I'm that squirrel.
Oh, that's deep. Yeah.
Is what I was thinking. And I'm
Wow.
like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And then this is when my 341 got pulled because they're like, what you looking at, trainee? And I literally just said, oh, the squirrel is me. And they're like, trainee said, what? I'm like,
Oh, you probably got nicknamed like Squirrel Girl or something for.
like, ma'am, trainees to be to report this order. I was looking at the squirrel.
So when you were in Guam, like, well, first of all, what did your parents do?
So my mom is an accountant at a sandcastle. It's like I don't want to say it's within the entertainment industry, but it's more for like the tourism economy. So magic shows, we have
Yeah.
tigers, bears, oh my. And my dad was a mechanic. I don't want to say he's not employed anymore, but he spends most of his time at home now. And that's good because it allows my siblings to really spend that lost time with him because both of our parents work, we didn't always have that opportunity.
When did you? When did that first idea come in your mind that the military is something I want to do?
It's so funny you asked that. It was not me saying like, "Oh, I want to see the world. Guam is so small." It was actually in one of my general ed courses was sociology. And I remember my professor, Dr. Kirk Johnson, his perspective was no pun intended, out of this world or out of this island. And I kept thinking, like, I would love to be able to see the world through that perspective where everything is integrated and so diverse. And kind of made me think, like, what's an opportunity that I can aspire for that was realistically achievable? And the first thing I thought was the Air Force.
Why Air Force over the other branches?
You know, and I say that the first thing was the Air Force. I was actually on an Army scholarship at the University of Guam. And when I started to realize, and no shame on this, okay? It was just something I learned where it was an environment that would not fill my cup, and
Yeah.
it there was a possibility that it might empty my cup and soul. And once I made that determination, even a year and a half into the program, I had to make that difficult call to my program manager and then even to my mom to tell them that this is not what's going to make me happy.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went to the Air Force instead because I realized there were a lot more areas of development for me to focus on. And I wanted to take my time in that growth rather than just going straight with schooling and then go through officer training and then come out as an officer. I felt like I owed it to myself to get that experience, and I would be doing myself personally a disservice if I didn't go through and work my way up, get my hands dirty a little bit,
Yeah.
and find out what it means to lead and
How'd your
grow.
parents react when you told them you were going to the States?
Oh my goodness, my mom, I love her so much. She always says, 8 years in, and so every time I go home and we say goodbye, she'll say a couple days prior, "Oh, Sheena, I'm not gonna cry. I'm used to it. You're an adult now. You can take care of yourself." But sure enough, the day of departure of the airplane on the airlines, I see my mom kind of like her arms folded, and this is a traditional Filipino family where they're like, no, you don't get any praise, and we're like, okay, cool, that's fine, ma, that's ma, pa. But I see my mom all cross on, like her arms are crossed, and then she's like shaking her head, and all you see are just her eyes watering, and then they just fall. And at that point, I'm crying too, obviously, and I'm just like smothering her in hugs and kisses. I'm petting her head, saying, "Mommy, I'm gonna be fine. Your little girl is an adult now. Even though when I come home, I love being babied." And so, very, very proud of me. And it fills my soul knowing whenever I can come home, we treasure that time together.
Yeah. What were some of the
Hmm.
biggest adjustments you had to make? I'm sure there was a ton of culture shock coming from Guam to San Antonio. What were some of the big culture shocks you had to overcome?
We've been getting into like deep topics, and I'm giving deep answers, but this might throw you off a little bit. The sweet tea. The
Sweet
sweet
tea.
tea.
Yeah, but Texas sweet tea is not anything like South sweet tea,
Oh, and that's what I started wondering.
like
One, I
rot
was
your
like,
teeth.
Guam sweet tea is like just enough to where there's a citrus scent and taste where you're like, oh wow, this is very refreshing. San Antonio's, was a little bit different, so slightly sweeter. And I go to places like Alabama or Mississippi, and I'm like, oh man, this is sugar.
It's like meth for your teeth.
It
It is.
is,
It's so
and I
much
had to make
sugar.
sure I brushed 3 times that day. Every time the tea would get a little bit sweeter.
You
So
drink it, you get a little film over your teeth. You're like, wow, that's straight up sugar right there.
yeah, you're like, oh, you can see the sugar. Like, yeah, and I'm glad, like, see, just doing that makes me want to, like, should brush my, let me take my little toothbrush
Everyone
really
just licked
quick
their
right now.
teeth right now. Like,
I'm like, mm. It was the sweet tea. That was like the biggest thing for me to get over because it was not Guam. And then the same thing, I'm a foodie at heart. And I always joke with people or any of my partners, like, the surest way to my heart is through my stomach, through food.
yeah.
So if someone were to ask, like, what's your ideal first date? It's honestly probably going to be like an all-you-can-eat seafood buffet because I love seafood. I feel like that's really
Just
one
gorge.
great way. Yeah, you're like, you know what? Forget level 0. Let's go to level 100 really quick through this buffet. And you
Okay.
learn, like, are they the type to use their hands? Are they going to use gloves? Are they going to like have someone crack it open for them? There's a lot of aspects to
Yeah.
take into account there, a lot of considerations.
Okay. What about when you got into like operational Air Force? You got into the operational Air Force. What was your first job?
I would say when you define operational, so I was security forces by trade. I was
Which is a
in Minot,
cop
North
for our
Dakota,
non-military.
a cop, military police. So I was there for about 5.5 years in North Dakota, in Minot, North Dakota, Minot Air Force Base. Hashtag frozen chosen. Okay, if you guys are there, I want to tell you really quick, there's hope and you will grow, good and bad. Okay. So I would say when I got into the operational Air Force, just understanding as a defender, your mindset's different. Now you're looking at like law compliance, demonstration of authority, and all that stuff.
Yeah.
It was not until really I retrained as a unit training manager when I started to see, especially working in the operations group, the immense and significant change of operations tempo. What one would usually value for like, oh, time effectiveness, consistency, all that stuff. They're more so like, what is the mission? How do we get it forward? Which wasn't necessarily bad, but it allowed me to start thinking in a different capacity past like tactical, strategic, and operational, and made me really start to consider like, what are my leadership's priorities and intent, and what can I do to achieve that?
Yeah. What what kind of you had to have endured some sort of struggles going through security forces that it is a it's not one of those career fields that it's like you talk to people all the time that are defenders, and I have huge respect for defenders, but they'll tell you it's dog eat dog. It can be tough at times. Uh, they don't even like the term secfo for some reason. But what was like one of those big struggles you had where you were like almost second guessing the fact that you even joined the Air Force? You're like, why am I doing this?
First 3 months in, instead of your Army Use of Force, which is what it is now, it's your personal reliability program. Coming from Guam, where it's all tropical, it's hot, it's all the humidity, and going straight into even past basic, going into North Dakota, where it's just cold, you're looking at sub-zero temps, everything. My body went into like a physical shock. No kidding. I was fainting. I was sick. I didn't understand. None of the doctors there could really rule out what was the main reason as to why. So at one point, I almost got out because of a type of failure to
Oh,
adapt rule. Yeah. Yeah, and it was crazy. And I think from there, the challenges was that like you get placed in a group called FMT, your facility maintenance team is what they called it on paper.
okay.
But it was basically all of everyone that was broken or in trouble or on the verge of getting out for whatever reason, they were placed there to either clean up the squadron, organize stuff like when they're S4 for our supply and equipment stuff. Basically, it was a team where no matter what your reason was for being there, people always saw you as a DBA, as like whatever that I don't even know what DBA means anymore because I don't even use it. It
Dirtbag
was
airman.
so dirtbag. I was
Yeah.
thinking something else. So thank you, dirtbag airman. It just goes to show how much I didn't use that. But the struggle there was just identity. I had no idea who I was anymore. I left home. I made the hardest decision in my life to leave my family and yet for reasons way beyond my control,
Mhm.
initially, initially, I was going to get kicked out. Of course, from that point, I knew I spiraled. I was already soaking in all the negativity of people saying, you know what, Airman, you're never gonna amount to anything. And for a second, I started to believe them.
Yeah.
It got to a point where I was digging myself in such a deep hole. I had to really take a really good look and understand, all right, Sheena, is this the way we want to go? Because from one side of the world, literally, my parents were calling me, texting me, saying, "Oh, anak," which is Tagalog for baby, like, we are so proud of you. You made that sacrifice to leave us, but we know you're doing well on your own. You're making us proud. Can you imagine how hurtful that was and how heartbreaking it was for me to internalize those words
Fine.
and start thinking,
Yeah.
yeah, mom, like I'm not right now. I'm in one of the lowest points in my life, and yet here you are saying, like you're praising a side of me that I don't even feel that isn't true. So I really had to take that time, and it took going into my commander's office as an airman first class, as an E3, and him saying, you know what, airman, I'm gonna put you back into flight, and if you can't hack it, you're gonna return as a slick sleeve. Do you understand? Yes, sir, I do. And as like scary at that what as that moment was for me then, it was the push I needed because I wanted to go back to flight. I felt better and healthier mentally and physically and emotionally, and I wanted to prove to others that they are wrong. So that was a challenge of even going into flight. You kind of learn, right? Through peer pressure, social stuff, social gatherings, you smoke, drink, chew, do the dip, all that stuff. I just remember even coming from FMT, I already had this negative light on me. So another challenge was breaking the mold of what people saw me and being more than just what was expected in a male dominant career field of either being a placemat, you're a bed, or you're something else, you're a lesbian or you're a dyke or whatever. And I just remember telling myself, all right, Sheena, and I journal it. Like I kept all of my journals. I have a little box where I keep them and I shuffle through it every now and then to see the growth. But it says, Sheena, you know what? I would rather you be excluded for who you are rather than be included for who you are not.
Ooh.
And so when we talk about like diversity and inclusion, what does that mean? And people are like, you know, I hate to be excluded. Being exclusive is bad. Not all the time. In situations to where you know if you were to give in to that status quo, you end up compromising yourself, your values, and what you stand for. To me, and this experience was one of those rare occasions where I'm like, you know what? I choose to be excluded because I'm more of me and less of you.
Yeah, it's probably gonna be our quote on social media is that, yeah, and it's so true though, because it's what is it, social comparison theory. I think a lot of
Mm-hmm.
us end up getting into, whereas we start seeing other people, whether they're succeeding at something or they're doing something we wish we were doing, and we start to compare ourselves to them and try to emulate them in a lot of ways, or just try to fit in general. So kudos for staying true to who you are.
Yeah, thank you. And I feel like with that too is with security forces, and I'm sure with a lot of other career fields, it was a crabs in a bucket mentality where they would shame you. They would shame you for growing. And I saw that your protein shake is a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I got something for that too. Yeah, we'll divert to this TMNT shortly, but yeah, being more of who you are rather than who you are not, and living truly to yourself.
Yeah.
If someone were to ask me what's my legacy, it would be that throughout these 20 plus years or so, or whatever the plan is, it's not, I have no idea, but I hope I can say with full confidence that I stayed Sheena through and through, no matter the tier. And
Yeah.
people knew whenever we did engage or interact with one another, it was always genuine. And I saw them for who they are rather than just a number or someone in uniform, but as a human being. And even more so, brownie points if they were able to see me in that same way too.
You can show me some turtles real quick because I have my next question ready for you.
Okay, so you're Shaker. I always say when it comes to mentorship, the key to mentorship is to grow your team so that they surpass you,
Yeah.
right? And it goes back to again, I take back Master Splinter and when he took in the boys and he raised them to a point where they ended up surpassing him more than just in height, but in character and spirit and leadership capabilities. That's it. My leadership philosophy, besides servant leadership of serving, leading to serve you, is you want to build your team. You want to build a team that will surpass you one day. Like that's the goal, because we're not going to be here forever. And if we're the type of leader, in my personal opinion, let me put that, if we're the type of leader that says, no, I always got to stay on top, I'm more of that leader where I'm like, when I grow, we
Ego.
grow together. I want you to push me. And it's
Mhm.
like, you do me that service of knowing that I mentored you to a point where now you're better than me. And you
Yeah.
challenge me, to maintain that growth. I don't know. It's so fulfilling and it's awesome when you're in that team and you all win because it's through genuine and pure intentions and nothing ulterior.
It's good when people can look at a team and it's like, who is the leader of this group? Because it's such a well-oiled machine. Do you
Yeah,
remember
you're
you
like,
were in my office? You know my Splinter, Master Splinter picture that I have hanging on the wall from one of my last class gifts that I had there. I'm trying to see if you have a Shadows sticker on that tumbler because you did
what
receive one in
Tumblr?
San Antonio.
What Tumblr? It's on my other one. It's on my other one.
Well, folks, that'll wrap this episode up.
Well,
Okay.
thanks for, hey, Shannon, this is your first time. It's probably your last.
Just as I mentioned earlier, in any sort of friendship or relationship, there's one person that goes over and beyond and has to pull the weight. So,
There's
you
there's
talked
a
about
giver
your
and there's a
identity,
taker.
talked about your identity, finding out, early who you are, which is something that a lot of people tend to struggle with in the military because it is very adaptive. It is, and for non-military people, look, I love the military, I do. But what happens is you get into a career field. It's weird. Somebody can come from Sheboygan. They can get sent off to the military. They almost break you down. You go through basic military training. They get you kind of thinking along the same lines, attention to detail, all that good stuff. And then you get thrust into one of these different squadrons or job. And like there's security forces or police. You have maintainers who work on the flight line. You have comm people like myself. You have public health. You have all these different career fields. And it's really weird how in the military we lose our identity because we start to morph into this version of ourselves that's now a defender, this version of ourselves where they are now a calm person. And what I mean by that is I had a student in my last class who, and I did this with a lot of classes. We were talking about security forces, and I throw out the term SecFo. They hated it. They hate that term. And I say the individuals that were in my class did. And so, of course, I did what any good instructor would do. I brought that term up every single day, some way, shape, or form, to where one of them, someone's mowing across the street from me.
I know. I thought that was your stomach. I'm like, hey, hey, hey.
Yeah.
Do we need to take a break? Yeah, check your nose real quick. Okay, let's hold on.
It clearly didn't get the memo across the street that I'm trying to record a podcast, um, but no. So they, I would always throw out SecFo every single day, and uh, I actually had someone come up to me who was not even a defender. They came up to me and they were like, "Hey, if you could, please stop saying that. It's getting a little old." And I was like, "Hook, line, and sinker. I already got him." He said, "Yeah, yeah, okay." Later on in the class, when we did injects, I made someone just keep saying SecFo to that individual. And afterwards, we had a talk about it. And it's like, why does that bother you? Well, we hate that. And I was like, who? They were like, we. I'm like, who's we? They said, security forces. I was like, I'm not asking you about security forces. I'm asking you about you. Why do you
Mm,
hate that term? It doesn't really make sense why. It's just we lose ourselves, just like little examples like that. So kudos that you've stood by that, uh, you know, held your place in terms of finding out or knowing who you are. And now that paid off because you got picked as a professional military education instructor. You're going to be teaching at uh, the Non-Commissioned Officer Academy over in Germany, same school I went to. Same school I went to. So super, super cool. You got awesome people over there. But what was that like when you found out you were going to be an instructor?
it's almost like that feeling. One, when I applied, it
Somebody
was
was telling
a
you to apply, by the way. I'm not telling you who that was, but
Oh, yes. I mean, but when you really think about it, right? This is where we kind of talk about you're going to have those gut feelings that you want to work against.
yeah,
And I knew, knowing like I had many gut feelings where I'm like, nah, that's too emotional. And then
yeah.
the course, takes its turn. And then I reflect back and I think, man, I should have gone with that gut feeling. That was that time for me where I'm like, I don't know, something about it just tells me I should apply. Complete shot in the dark. Who is is the military going to be crazy enough to pick someone stateside and pay for all these moves for me to go overseas? Nah, not me. What am I to them? I apply, and then sure enough, within 2 weeks, I received a notice of the interview date, and from the interview date, which I surprisingly completely botched.
Really? Well, obviously not too bad.
No, 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 no. No, let me tell you why. Because there was a call that got placed telephonically where they're like, Sheena, I just wanted to talk about it because it was almost like the answers I was giving was too perfect. It was like Air Force answers by the book. But
Oh
clearly,
yeah.
through our conversations and how I speak and how I think, that's just me. And maybe I blame it on the 3 books I've recommended so far, or all the school I'm doing, and all these like PME, PDC, Max. I blame John C. Maxwell. Let's start there. All the professional development centers, I blame you because you made me into this. But it was more so understanding, and then that team there saying like, you know what, let's give her another chance, let's call her and find out. And sure enough, I was notified of my official selection. And I want to kind of go back to when you think about peers, social pressure, peer pressure. It's true, it's hard to ignore because your
Mhm.
peers are who you spend the majority of your career from BMT, tech school, and then into the operational Air Force, right? So whenever people ask me where I want to be at the end of the day, or why am I the way I am, I tell them 2 things. One, I'm a work in progress always. And two, I'm like a Pokemon, all right? This is not my final form. I'm gonna keep evolving with or without any set stone, shoot. If I could be like I'm like an Eevee. Oh my goodness. Yeah, unless there's another Pokemon that can take in a lot of other stones for evolution, I'm an Eevee. Okay, I'd rather be an Eevee than a Ditto. I literally just made that up. Well, I
This is
mean,
the nerdiest episode I've ever recorded.
well, I
But
crowd
I mean,
crowd
look
goes
around me.
wild.
I'm not complaining.
No,
You've
it's
got
true.
cherry
Like when you
blossoms, and I've got They Live and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles behind me.
no, but it is true. My my leadership philosophy is to be more of me so I can allow my team to be more of them too. And the growth has been amazing, so immeasurable, and I cannot thank enough like my team, my support, my day ones to include yourself in that circle of trust, of knowing
On there.
knowing when you have that gut feeling and you have other people saying like, Sheena, you'd be dumb if you didn't do this. Like, just do it anyway. What if it works out? And having that encouragement, sometimes it's a push, sometimes it's a Spartan kick saying, Sheena, yeah, you wingding, you better apply right now.
I think I was
It
me and Andrews. I think we're messaging you like apply.
yeah, tagging me like, hey, if you don't do this, we cannot be friends.
Yeah, I was like, I'll
Yeah,
be.
yeah, was it encouraging or was it peer? It wasn't an ultimatum, maybe, but either way, I'm so thankful. So
Perfect
thank
for
you,
it.
Lucy. Thank you, like my
She's not
team,
bad.
God, everyone, everyone.
She's not bad either. She's not bad. She had a good
Oh
instructor.
yeah, yeah. Like she's all right, all right, all right, for sure. She
Yeah,
gets three all rights.
yeah. She's lifted a weight or two in her time. Um, so you came through the course here, and this is the cool part I think about. You know, the universe. Was it the universe's rejection is the universe's protection at times? Our episode was not
Oh
intended to
yeah.
go out when it was originally recorded. And because now you've come through this course here, and just to let people know, our course basically you come through, teach you how to teach and how to deal with conflicts in a classroom. I mean, we nitpick every little thing down to ums and uhs that you say. What's the biggest thing that you learned about yourself over the course of 5 weeks down in Montgomery, Alabama?
What does growth look like to me as an NCOA instructor? And I loved how at the very beginning of that course we did this toast and icebreaker of what our professional fear is. And for me, that professional fear was giving from an empty cup and learning now going through the course and understanding, okay, one is what is there's a leadership style and there's an instructor instruction kind of style. And it was being able to blend and have that humility and competency to know that I'm not going to know everything, that there's a balance between, yep, there are days where I'm going to be the instructor, but there are also days where I will want to be the student and I will be. I'm not there because I'm just me and I know everything. I'm there to integrate our perspectives and join, especially with our peers, tell each other, like, here's my experiences. Can you share me yours? And that was the biggest lesson I learned of how to still be yourself, but also include others in that joy of learning because they're hard topics. They're not very easy if you're like me, you've never deployed, you were never really thinking in that deployment or operational mindset. It could be very daunting to think like, oh, now when we talk about the national defense strategy or the strategic master plan, oh my goodness, like how do I measure up as an NCO? So I think it's like setting the bar to let people know, yeah, we are all the same rank, but comparison is a thief of joy. I want us to grow and hopefully cultivate that environment where people are safe to say, I don't know anything about that, or I don't care, but I'll try to. I want to. And same thing for me. Set the example.
Yeah, growth is huge. Like oh my gosh, when I started teaching, I look back at like that 2016 was it version of me, and gosh, was it that long ago? But yeah, I look at that compared to where I am today, and like you said, sitting there and just you know, while it's wise to share our experiences, it's even wiser to learn from the experience of others, which is what this podcast is all about. Like sitting there listening to other people, what they've been through. I think too many times people think as an instructor that we have to know everything, but that's not true.
Hmm.
You could sit there and hear other people's perspectives and experiences and gain just as much from doing that. Um, So yeah, I'm very excited. And actually, the cool thing about doing this with you is, uh, hopefully, the Shadows is still around in 3 years. With people, I mean, with the amount of people not supporting our sticker on their Tumblr, but yeah, hopefully, we sell enough decals in the next 3 years. But what I want to do is, I want to actually, I'll try to stay connected to you. And what we'll do is, I want to get you on like a halfway point back on the Shadows. You're going to be like my little PME guinea pig. And we'll see how well, or where you're at in your journey. And then we'll get you at the tail end of this too. And that, I think that'd be pretty cool, to have you on here and talk about growth and share some of your stories, because they are going to, we could have an episode, or we could just share war stories from my classroom,
Oh
because
yeah.
God bless you, you're going to have them too. And it's going to be the thing. So I love injects. I love injects. I actually had someone text me yesterday and say, "Thank you very much for the cell phone inject." That exact scenario happened in my class, and I was able to handle it. So, yeah, I can't wait to see, what all is going to happen. End of the day, I know you mentioned your legacy earlier, but at your retirement ceremony, you're retiring from the Air Force. People are
Hmm.
standing up there. They're talking about you. What do you want them to say?
So, in addition to The Legend of Zelda, I also love Disney. And there's always a quote. Okay, there's two. There's two quotes. One is from The Lion King, another one is not Disney related. And prepare yourself for the second one because you'll be like, whoa. The Lion King one is remember who you are, right? Is always like the standard, but I added two more. It's remember who you are, where you came from, and who helped you. And I say that, but it wasn't originally conceived by me. It was actually through one of my first ever, I don't want to say mentors because he's really grown to me as a father, but um Papa Charles Anderson, thank you. You brought me to my first Lion King musical in San Antonio at the Majestic Theater.
I went in London to a Lion King musical.
See, look at that, all these connections. But he really taught me that. He's like, all right, Peanut, just remember, always remember who you are, where you came from, and who helped you. Besides God, all our earthly support. And that's really resonated with me. So that's one. The other one is no matter the job, big or small, do it well or not at all. Do you know where I got that from?
It's very familiar.
It was a Panda Express fortune cookie.
Cat looks stupid.
And I haven't dated. I actually found it because
What
okay,
if I
one, I'm
would
a
have said
hoarder.
Panda Express fortune cookie? Like, I was gonna. You asked
If
me
you
where
said that,
would I know that?
man, if you said that, I would have thrown this chair, and I love this chair. It's a nice, cute little rattan chair from Facebook Marketplace. I would have thrown that to my bed or something and been like, "Shut up." I am a hoarder, so I keep everything. Like when I write letters or people write letters to me, I'll always have the date and the time. And when I do receive letters, I'll ask like, "Hey, can you put the date and time of when you did this?" Because I don't know, it's just sentimental. I have that fortune cookie. It's downstairs. It's gonna get packed, but it
The
was
cookie
dated.
or the fortune?
Oh, I have the fortune from
Okay,
the cookie. If I still had the fortune cookie, that would be very
I
concerning.
wasn't gonna judge.
I would have been like, it's about time I ate it. It's
Yeah,
like it's on a wedding cake,
eat it before you
where
go to
you
Germany.
wait.
Yeah, it's in the freezer. Well,
But yeah, it was dated like January 2015 or 2016, something like that. And I I've held on to it for this long. It's laminated, and by laminated, it's just taped up in some unorthodox manner just so that it wouldn't get wet from the snow and Minot. But yeah, those are the two things. Lion King and Panda Express fortune
I was
cookie.
gonna go with like Aristocats or something. I don't know. I was thinking something easy with that one.
And I started thinking if I mean, I feel like we can make coins at any point in time in our career and here. Two things, all right? And if anyone steals this, just know I'm going to take it personally. I almost don't want to share it, but here it is because you're going to hear it from me. I have two options. One is a fortune cookie. Okay. Two is a Pokeball. Yep. Yep. You thought it was gonna be like the Lion King, right? I was
Yeah.
like, no, it's gonna be a Pokeball or it's gonna be a fortune cookie. Pokeball because again, you want to stay evolutionary. It's what your final form is only something that you can say is your
Okay.
final form.
Yeah.
Otherwise, keep evolving. And then the fortune cookie one, I really love Chinese food. I really love their fortune cookies. And then that fortune in itself, I don't know
You
what
like
it would
your
look
old
like
fortune
yet, but
cookies.
maybe it would, yeah, like maybe it would legit be like a fortune cookie. And then the fortune that sticks out would say like, um, it would be the actual fortune that I've held on to. Oh my goodness. The more I talk about it, the more I love. Maybe I should have two versions.
It's a tattoo.
It is a you know what? I still have enough real estate.
See, that could be an homage to me.
Whoa.
The fortune cookie.
The fortune cookie. Okay, then you have to choose the same. You have to choose the fortune.
I got you.
Okay.
I got you.
You probably yeah, this podcast will not be enough time. And that's
Got you. I'll stay in contact. What
yeah, yeah.
what
I know
final
I'll
comments?
reciprocate.
What final comments do you have for our listeners?
I would say to our listeners, no matter what point of your career or chapter in your life that you're in, you're going to have that choice to either build a wall, build a bridge, build a fence. And I will say, in any of those, if you are looking at this bridge, and I really want you to think about it, I want you to think like you don't have to burn a bridge if you know it's a path that you can't both walk on at the same time. If anything, instead of burning the bridge, you're just pausing the construction for a time frame when you are both ready. And maybe it might take time where you're like, you know what, I'm ready to walk, but you're not. But for them to know that the bridge is still there. So say all that to say, if you have that choice and you're given any choice in life, I hope you choose to be kind and humble.
Go. Well, I appreciate you taking time to be on here to do this for round two. I would like to thank our special guest outside of my window, Leatherface, apparently running around with a chainsaw or something. Um, this has been great, probably the nerdiest episode I've ever had. And I am perfectly fine with that because you're speaking my language. Leadership and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, uh,
Yeah, and Pokemon and Lion King.
Pokemon,
Hmm.
Zelda, Batman, 4-year-old fortune cookies. Um,
I'm still stoked by the fact that you have the like Batman in psychology and I literally have
yes,
Zelda in
I'm
psychology.
actually
Yeah, I don't
going to go to Books a Million tonight and try to see if they have that. I'm like, I did not know there was a Zelda one. They have like a Stranger
I
Things one. I don't want that one.
I didn't
So
know about the Batman. Now I'm gonna add that to my list.
yeah, yeah. So there's an updated one. I gotta order the updated one. But folks, this has been a great episode. Like I said, we're gonna do more installments of this and kind of track her PME journey. But definitely check us out. Instagram, check us out on YouTube, on Facebook, all of our social media platforms. You can head over to our link tree, which is in the episode description. We also have a media guide now. So definitely make sure you check out our media guide. It's got everything about the Shadows podcast. If you or someone you know want to be on here, it's something good to send over to them, have them check out as well. But we will see you again next week for another episode of the Shadows podcast.